This content is sponsored by Bcw Supplies. Visit them at bcwsupplies.com.
Reggie here, your friendly neighborhood bodybuilder and comic book collector, and I want to welcome you to another one of my videos. And technically this is going to be a vlog. I guess that's what they call it. I did one of these not that long ago, and I rather enjoyed the format and thought that I would try it again with a topic that has been bouncing around my head for several months now. And I think that I'm finally in a position to actually be able to talk about it and to do it in a manner that maybe people can appreciate. And at the end of the day, you guys will tell me whether this was successful or not, just like on every other video where I definitely appreciate people's thoughts on things. So this is going to be one of those videos where I am not going to give you a whole lot of answers, but what I am going to do is to pose some questions and to give you some things to think about. And then I will look to the responses, the comments, to hear what you guys think about this. And again, this has been something that's been kind of bouncing around my head for a while. And again, I'm kind of ready to get it out there and to hear what the thoughts are. And so I want to spend some time talking about the dark side of third-party grading. And there's some people out there right now that probably heard me say that, and they're probably like, oh, Reg is about to drop some bombs. I don't know if I'm dropping the bombs that people think that I might drop, but I am going to put some stuff out there for us to think about. If you think about comics, they are works of art, in my opinion. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about the writing and the dialogue that go along with them, or if you're talking about the actual artwork, the drawing of the characters. I look at them as being fantastic works of art that we get to enjoy, that we get to read, that we get to look at. That's what I think comics are. And I appreciate not just the covers, but I appreciate everything that goes into a story. You know, as a writer myself, and as someone who cannot draw a lick, I have to shout out the writers and to give the letterers some love as well, right? But if you think about comics, and if you think about them as works of art, they are essentially valuable because of that. They have some value because of a talented writer and artist have come together and have created something. And the reputation of the writer and artist, if it's significant, it goes towards the value of that book. And I'm not just talking dollars and cents here, but certainly it's dollars and cents. But it's also that feeling that you get when you hold a grail or a key or a special book in your hand. That is the culmination of a writer and an artist's effort. When you hold that feeling that you get in your gut from holding this piece of art, from holding this piece of history, maybe that you've always wanted, right? That is value in my mind, right? If you hold AF-15 in your hand, there is something special. If you hold Amazing Spider-Man 1 or X-Men 1 or Fantastic Four #1 or Avengers 1, if you hold these books in your hand, and it doesn't have to be a major book like that, but a significant book to you, if you hold it in your hands, there is a feeling that you get in your gut. That is value. And then there's also, of course, the dollars and cents, right, that go along with that. But one of the other things that drives value for these books, especially older books, Golden Age, Silver Age books, another thing that drives value for these books is the fact that many of these books are rare. And I'm using the term rare a little loosely here, right? I'm meaning that it is rare truly is when there's a dozen of something, right? Or a couple of something. That is truly rare. But I'm using it in a slightly broader sense, right? I'm not talking 100,000 or something like that. I'm talking smaller numbers than that. But your Golden Age books, your Silver Age books, they are somewhat rare. And if you talk about higher grades of those books, then they probably are more rare, right? And they're rare because back in the day, you know, kids used to get these books, or teens or adults or whoever used to read these comics, and they didn't necessarily treasure them the way that we treasure them now, right? They would read them and they would share them with friends, or they would read them, I've heard, at the barber shop, and leave them at the barber shop for other people to actually read. They would give them to their friends. They would fold them up, they would put them in their pocket, and they would read them wherever they had a moment. These books weren't necessarily something that was treasured. They were enjoyed. And so because they were enjoyed and loved, right? That's what you call a low-grade book. It's been loved, right? Because it's been loved, few air quotes of these books have survived time, right? Because people went to college and mom needed to clear the room out, clear the basement out, clear the garage out. Things went to the trash. Men went to war, women went to war. Maybe they didn't come home. Maybe books were thrown away for whatever reason, right? Fires, floods, etc., etc. All of these things have basically reduced what was originally created as a form of entertainment, have reduced those numbers to much smaller numbers now. And again, if you're talking about higher grades of these books, you're talking about relatively small numbers. And so as a result of that, this idea of rarity has driven value, right? If you are talking a 9.0 of AF15, that is a rare thing, right? And if you hold it, if you have one and you want to meet up so I can never mind. They are rare, right? There is no doubt about that. And so this also drives the value of these books. Now let's fast forward to where we are today. You have people, and this is me, I am not condemning anyone for this, right? But you have people that get books now, they may not read them, and they send them off to a third-party grader to be cleaned and pressed and encapsulated and thus preserved. And these books come back at 9.6, 9.8, 9.9, even a 10. They come back never having been read, never having been loved, but encapsulated and preserved with microfibers and, these perfect environments, if you will, to protect them. And so if you fast forward 50 years from today, you might have books in the future that look like they were just printed because they have been so well preserved through various techniques, right? Whether it be Mylar or third-party grading with microfibers and all that kind of stuff. The books have been so well preserved that they look brand new 50 years from today. And yes, you still have, fantastic writers and artists that are creating those books now that are going to be there in the future, but you won't have this component of rarity because the books will have been preserved. And I'm being extreme, right? Of course, you're going to lose some books. You're going to lose some books over time because that just happens. But if you have a comic right now that is printed, and let's just call it a small print run of, let's just say 10,000. 10,000, let's say that's a small print run. You could have a significant number of those books that are immediately sent off to third-party grading and are cleaned and pressed and encapsulated and will come back. You could have a significant number of those actually come back at a really high grade. And even those that don't are still also preserved. So you have 10,000 Hulk 181s on the CGC census. That doesn't include other third-party grading companies, but you have 10,000 of them on the census. And you may lose some here or there, but you're still going to have a significant number of these books into the future. It's not going to be that first appearance of Wonder Woman that I held a couple of months ago at a 9.4, where that is the highest graded book in the world. You could have multiple Hulk 181s at a 9.8 that people will have the ability to pick and choose from. And so part of my question is, if you don't have books being lost to time, you don't have the element of rarity applied to these comics. The question becomes, what will drive the value of comics in the future? Yes, the artists and writers are still there and they are still a driver of value, but you will have the ability to pick and choose from a large number of essentially identical books in the future. And I don't know where the value will come from. And yes, you could say it's nostalgia. That's true. But will nostalgia force you to pick one 9.8 over another 9.8? They're both 9.8s. And even if you can't afford a 9.8, there's still a really nice 5.0 that's right there. And there's probably 20 or 30 or 40 or 100 of them to choose from. And so again, this vlog is not a condemnation of third-party grading services. It is not a condemnation of people that actually send their books in to be graded, because I do it as well. This is more about, what does the future look like when it comes to the value of comics? Will someone who has the ability to pick from 300, 400, 1,000 copies of a book still feel that feeling in their gut when they hold that book in their hand? Is it still going to be as special to them as us holding some of these books in our hands now that are actually rare? I really don't know the answer to that. But with that, this is where I actually look to you guys and I'm like, hey, help me to understand. Help me to understand this. I really am curious what you guys think about this. Does this make sense? Does it not make sense? Where do we think the future value of comics will come from? I'm really, really interested to hear what you guys have to think about this. And I look forward to reading your comments in the comment section. But as always, if you guys need to reach out to me, feel free to do so at Regie Collects on Instagram and regiecollects@gmail.com. And if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscription button and the notification button so that you can stay abreast of all the content that I release on a weekly basis. Take care.